Hey, Sean here from SpeedCubeReview.com. I've been having a ton of fun messing with a 3D printer, and I want to show you some things that I have created and some things that you can download for free right now. Well, one thing I'm going to show you first is not quite finished yet. This is my bump void cube, or I guess you could call it a mirror void cube, even though there's not any stickers on it yet. So I still need to add stickers to this. I'm not going to be rounding off the pieces any more than they are, because one, kind of like that more, sharp look to it, but also like I started sanding here and I realized whenever I try doing that with some of my mods, it never is how I like. It's not even all the way around, and I really noticed that. So I'd rather it be sharp edges. Plus, since it's a void cube and we have more sharp edges here. But anyways, I'm going to show this in a later video when it's all stickered, and then I can actually do full solves on this. So I'm just going to move this back. Those are extensions from Twisty Text. You can download those for free right now. And, of course you can download them. You still have to 3D print them. There are websites you can go to that will 3D print things and ship them to you, but that's a whole different price anyway. So we'll just leave that be. Now, one thing I wanted was a stand for my Rubix Connected. And let me show you this. The Rubix Connected was designed by GoCube. You can see a lot of similarities in the product. They're practically the same thing, just with different caps. And the GoCube has this nice stand you can get with it, but there is no stand for the Rubix one. And this one also doesn't quite fit in there because it's a little bit larger. So I went and designed one. Now, I had a couple failed attempts, and finally, let me show you what some of the failed attempts were. My first thought was to create something like that. So I kind of had this like two-piece thing here that printed like that, and then this, slides in, but I couldn't get it to fit right, and I had to sand pieces there, which then kind of broke. So then I thought, okay, let me just go a little bit more slim. This actually worked really well. This one sat in here and the charger sat there, although my measurements were not quite right. And this ended up being slightly too deep for the charger. It still worked, but it didn't sit flush. And I was like, okay, I can re-alter this one. I liked the shape of it. I like these sort of rounded edges. It needed to be a little bit bigger though. I didn't like how that was. And then it dawned on me that I was thinking way too hard about it. And so I designed this. And this worked perfectly. So this is similar to how the GAN one is, and I have now a working version right here that also has my logo on it. Now, the logo is not the cleanest thing, so you can make this a little bit cleaner by doing some thinner lines. Instead of 2 millimeters, or sorry, 0.2 millimeters, you can do 0.1. However, that definitely works well for what it is. The charger sits right in there, and it just stays right in there. Then my dog hits my camera. And then this just goes right in and starts charging. And you can see that it's charging with the blue light that is right there. The GoCube kind of will fit in here, although the GoCube is slightly wider in the middle, even though it's smaller at the ends. I was possibly going to redesign the whole thing, but decided just to make it slightly larger. So here is one specifically for the GoCube. And there's still a little bit of extra space, so it can move around just a little bit in there. However, it does plug in and charge, and then you can unplug it. Now, these designs, I've uploaded them to whatever website, I forgot what it was, Thingiverse, I think it is, and I'll put a link to that where you can download both of these. I guess this one could be a little bit smaller. At some point I might design it with curved edges so this sits in really snug instead of having that. However, it's a nice place to just put this where you can set it down and lift it up and let it charge. That's sort of the point of this. Yeah, you could just plug it in, but this way you just set it down and it has a nice little base for it. For this one, and then also the Rubix one. And for the download, there's ones with my logo and ones without, but why wouldn't you just want that logo? So I printed a few other things that I wanted to get a 3D version of my logo because everyone kept saying I needed to do that. And I first did this, and this one, so I learned something that I shouldn't do, that it didn't make sense. It didn't dawn on me, but what I did was I made the width of this sort of outer border the same width as how deep it is. Well, what happens is suddenly there's no support. You can kind of see right here, there's nothing connecting this outer ring to the underside. So there might be a few spots it's connected, but there's no supports. And so on some of this, it cracked off and I had to re-glue it. So I redesigned it. I did a little draft print, which I've learned it's okay to waste a little bit of filament to do a draft print. And this was much better. However, the draft print was so thick that I couldn't actually peel out these supports. And then I made this final one. Now, I probably should have waited for the bed to dry a bit because I think this might have caused from me pulling it up too early. However, we've got the SCR logo on here. And then also, I have it Speed QPV right there. And then I just have it blank here. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I thought maybe establish 2015 or whatever that is. I think I need to alter some stuff in my printing and my how clean it is, because you can see some lines there aren't the greatest. But I do have a 3D version of my logo. Now I'm going to remake this one before I upload it. Speaking of learning things from printing, one of the first things I designed was this holder for lubrication, and it works great. I can just hold it, it all stays in place. It's actually quite snug. I'll probably just alter this one, but a couple things that I didn't realize. One is I didn't actually make this rounded portion rounded. It's kind of geometric, and it's so thin, which I want it to be thin, but it's so thin that the letters didn't really work. L is okay. Those pieces on the M kind of broke. Galaxy, which used to be called Rain, kind of didn't fit. So I think what I might do is make all of the walls thicker. So, you know, kind of how I have this place for the smaller ones. This is actually a little bit tight. Oh, jeez. So these could be a little bit larger, but I have it all connected. So, but maybe this might be okay, but making the front a little more rounded with my logo or something else there. Maybe raising these up a little bit more, so not as low as they are. So there's a few things. I learned a lot while making this one, but I do like the function of it. Just the design itself needs to be tweaked and cleaned up. Plus, maybe I'll make one that has different amounts of loops. So one that can hold like 2 in a puzzle, 3 in a puzzle, or how many. If there's one you specifically want, let me know. If you have a 3D printer or way of printing and you want a specific design, let me know. I might be able to throw that together. So one more thing that I want to design. I usually don't like designing things that are completely useless. I mean, this isn't even a great paperweight because it's so light. I wanted to make something with my logo because I figured out how to make my logo 3D, and I made a couple coasters, and I used 2 different color filaments. And I have this one that has a much thicker top portion and this one that's quite a bit thinner. So this is probably a little bit better in the end, but I really like how deep this one is. Like, this one feels pretty hardy. And there's a couple issues I have, with it. This because the printer doesn't really know the shape of what's going on here, so it makes like this line separately from other things. I could make a little dip here, make part of this lower, like make the S lower than that other part so it looks different. That's one thing, but I like the way it turned out. One thing that could also be done that I started to do with a messed up version is ironing. So ironing is where the hot end of it, I'm just going to use very general terms, the hot end of the extruder where the filament comes out doesn't actually let out any filament, but just goes over the top to smooth everything out. Well, I was doing that with one. The problem is it takes so much longer to print, but I had a really messed up print and this happened. So the whole table ended up shaking because of an issue that happened, and the whole thing shifted. So you see where the C was and where it went to. Now, it still looks kind of cool. It definitely looks interesting. I mean, some parts are probably a little more fragile, like that right there. That's pretty fragile right there. So it still looks cool. So I'll probably hang on to it. But when I got into 3D printing, I was saying I wasn't going to waste a lot of filament and other things. Well, I've wasted so much. So here are a couple prints that happened that this filament specifically, this sort of really nice color changing stuff, messes up more than anything else. It just catches on itself. So if I print with it, I need to be around, which is hard because Sometimes, like, I did a print that was taking 19 hours, and 10 hours in, something messed up and I wasn't around to fix it, so I ruined all of that. This was from my cube before, and then again, the filament stopped. It's always this colored one. I guess I could also unwind the whole thing and rewrap it in a different way, but so if you have a 3D printer or you're getting one, I know Tingman, shout out, he's getting one, and get ready to waste filament. You think you're going to be great. You think you're not going to waste filament. You will. It will happen. So just get over it, get used to it, experiment. But yeah, these are available now. I'll have a link to them. You can download these coasters. It'll be one solid piece. So even though there's two colors, if you want to change a color, you'll have to change filament partway through. I have this 3D box. This is a 45 millimeter puzzle. So if you want it to be kind of a more standard size, raise it up by about 125%. We have the charging dock for the Rubik's brand and the Go Cube. So both of those are available now. As far as the lubricant, I'm not going to upload this. If you want this specific design, let me know. I'm going to probably clean it up. Maybe I'll just take out the letters completely and just have it one solid piece. If you want a specific organization of lubricant and also puzzles, let me know and I can get that done. And then yeah, we have these, which probably in the end I have to toss. I mean, if anyone knows anything to do with messed up projects besides throwing it away, let me know, because as much as, you know, it wouldn't make sense for me to ship them. If you don't have a Bluetooth puzzle, you can still print these, and it's a nice little holder. This is also my sort of demo print to make sure it works with the really chunky print, the draft setting, but it can still be a nice little cube holder to have it displayed. Phew, so that's about it. Yeah, I'll make a video later on with the bump cube, and once it's all stickered up, and I'll do full salts on that. Right now it actually performs pretty well. There's some little catching that you would normally have on a void cube, but I'm actually really amazed at how well it's turning. So I had to take it all apart. Go to Instagram. If you ever want sneak peeks to some of the stuff, subscribe to me on Instagram. I will have always little peeks into what videos are going to be going up on there, so you can kind of see ahead of what's coming. Thank you very much. If there's also, if there's something that you think I should make, or that any tweaks you would like to see, something that you want that maybe you need help making, I'm very basic at designing things. However, I am pretty happy with how a lot of the stuff has turned out as far as designs go. But hit me up, let me know, leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below, hit like, subscribe for more content like this in the future, and as always, stop by speedcubeview.com for more news and reviews. Hey,